Hi, and welcome to this 30-minute yoga practice. I'm Andrea. Glad to have you here with me. A few tools that could come in handy for our practice today. A couple of blocks. If you don't have blocks, it's fine. Thick books might be a good substitute. Also, a folded towel, blanket, even just something that's like a hand towel, in case we get on our hands and knees and you want a pad or to sit up on. And for sitting up in our seated poses, I think something like a bolster, which could be a cushion from your couch, or a sturdy pillow is a really nice thing. I happen to be standing on a yoga mat, but you don't need one. Find a place in your house that's not too slippery, maybe carpeted. And lastly, you don't have to be barefoot, although I am. You're welcome to wear shoes if that makes you more comfortable. Actually, not quite lastly, because the other thing is I like to have a chair on hand. It's helpful for balance. Of course, you can also use the wall, but sometimes I incorporate it into the things that we're doing in our flow. So it's nice to have a chair nearby, I think. And then let's start in Tadasana in our mountain pose, which is the bedrock of all poses. Palms turned out, ears over shoulders, over hips, over heels, maybe a slight bend in your knees. You're welcome to close your eyes so that we find an inward as opposed to distractedly outward turn. And we stop here for a moment so that we can start. Feel your breath rise and fall. We'll add some movement. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky. Exhale, hinge at your hips and take your hands to your thighs. Inhale and extend some length into your spine, and then exhale, hinge at your hips and fold. Inhale, rise and reach. Thumbs to the sky, a V shape, and then pause, arms along your side, palms face out, standing tall. Again like that. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, a V shape. Exhale, hinge at your hips, hands to your thighs. Inhale and extend your heart forward, and then exhale, hinge at your hips. Keep your head above your hips, however, and then inhale, stand, arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky. And we pause in our mountain. We'll take one more round. Inhale. Arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, a V shape. Exhale, hinge at your hips and bring your hands to your thighs. Inhale, extend your heart forward, lengthening, tractioning. Exhale, hinge at your hips. And then inhale, arms out and up and thumbs to the sky, a V shape. Pause in your mountain. Ears over shoulders, over hips, over heels. We'll organize some props for our next bit. Take your chair, turn it towards the short edge of your mat so that if you wanted to use the seat of your chair, it would be available to you. And then take your two blocks or books and make sure that they are off the sides of your mat, or if you're not using a mat, just out of your work area. We never want things underfoot. Find your mountain facing that short edge of your mat, or your imaginary short edge of your mat. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, V shape. Exhale, hinge at your hips and hands to your thighs. Inhale your heart forward, and then find the seat of your chair with your hands, or collect your blocks a little closer to you but not underfoot, and step your left foot back so that we're in a lunge. I like to have plenty of sideways space, meaning maybe you heel toe and walk your right foot over to the right a little bit so that you feel like side to side there's a spaciousness. With your hands on your blocks, feel extension through your spine. So that means we're not rounding and collapsing. And that can be hands on the seat of your chair, might actually lend itself to even more spaciousness. We are steering with our right foot, notably our right heel, right hip back and left hip forward, and then we're breathing into this new shape. 3 moments here. here in our lunge. Now firm through your belly so that when we're moving, we're also stabilized. And step your left foot hip distance from your right, hands to your thighs. Inhale some length into your spine. Exhale, increase the hinge at your hips. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, a V shape, and then float your arms along your sides. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky. Exhale, hinge at your hips and hands onto your thighs. Inhale, extend your heart forward. As we exhale, hands come to the seat of your chair or onto your blocks. And this time it is our right foot that steps back. We're conscientious about sideways space. We're feeling length through our spine. And we're stamping into our left heel to draw the left hip back and the right hip forward. Ultimately, in this practice, we're going to build a pyramid, which means that there'll be, in addition to this structure of left hip back and right hip forward, facing the front edge of our mat, there'll be a hamstring stretch also. So before we have that going on too, feel the structure that we're going for here. Feel into it and breathe into it, and I'll be silent for 3 moments. Now firm through your feet and your belly and step your right foot hip distance from your left, hands to thighs. Inhale. Exhale, increase the hinge at your hips. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, V shape, and then stand into your mountain. Inhale, arms out and up. Exhale, hinge at your hips and hands to your thighs. Inhale your heart forward and then place your hands where you like. Seat of the chair, tall blocks. Step your left foot back. Now, begin to straighten your front leg. It's not going to get all the way straight. I don't even want it to. Maybe that sideways space is something that you find walking your right foot to the right. Come upright, arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky. Now, already it can feel a little bit like a tightrope, right? A little wobbly. So you might decide to walk your right foot over to the right a little bit and see if there's a little bit more of a solid base. And if you had flashlights on your hip bones, they would both kind of be interested in facing that front edge of your mat. With our arms out to the side, we have sort of a little bit of a seesaw action that can help us to balance. So that might be helpful. But I also want us, while we're upright, to really feel that we're standing in our mountain. Even though we have a scissored stance, that we're in our mountain pose. Take a few moments just like this, and one more refining thing that I'd like us to find is that you've got your right big toe mound pressing into the ground. So we're not flopped to the outside of that foot. There's a solidness to that right foot, that front foot. Remember all this length in your spine because we're going to translate it now, bringing your hands onto your blocks or onto the seat of your chair. Your head stays higher than your hips, and that's super important to me. Your front leg is straight or on its way to being straight. It doesn't have to be literally straight. It's totally fine, not important. Now, this is one variation of our pyramid. What we want to avoid is we're not swinging our right hip out to the side. Remember, we found that upright, and we found that mountain pose feeling to our spine. So that's a little easier to come by if you happen to be on the ball of your back foot, which all of us are doing right now. Eventually, possibly, maybe, if it feels okay in your body, you can turn your back foot flat, which makes balance a little easier, but which makes steering right hip back and left hip forward and remembering to keep mountain pose in our spine maybe a little bit more difficult. So it's not that there's one way to do these things. You're the expert of your own body. See which one of those various options feels good to you, because we're going to stay here for a couple of moments. So that can be with your hands on your chair, on your blocks. You can spin on the back toes and keep that happening, or have your back foot flat. Remember, your head stays higher than your hips. That's a super important note to take and to continue as we pause and meditate here in a hamstring stretch for a few silent moments. Now, begin to bend your front knee and spin on your back toes. So we're in that first lunge that we did a while ago. Step your left foot hip distance from your right and take your hands onto your thighs. Inhale, heart extends. Exhale, fold yourself in. And then inhale, arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky, V shape. Pause in your mountain. That was a long time on one side. Feel what's called samastiti, which is a fancy Sanskrit way of saying evenness in both feet. And let there be an evenness to your breath also. And then we'll head into our second side. Arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky. Exhale, hinge at your hips and hands to your thighs. Inhale your heart forward, and as you exhale, your hands come to the seat of your chair or onto your blocks. Step your right foot back this time. We're on the ball of our back foot. And we'll begin by stepping maybe the left foot to the left for that sideways space that sure can be helpful. And now you know how long we're going to be here, so you want to give yourself every advantage. Begin to straighten your front leg. It doesn't need to get all the way straight. In fact, we don't even want it to. Firm through your belly. Come upright, thumbs to the sky, arms out to the side. Now already things are like a little wobbly. Natural, normal. So maybe you want more sideways space. That would be totally fine. Let your shoulders drop down out of your ears, and let's really take note of feeling like we're standing in our mountain pose right now. Even though we're in a split stance and we're balanced on a very little amount of real estate in our back leg. Think of your hip bones being flashlights, and you're trying, without force, but just encouragement, to point them forward. Take all this space, this length in your spine, and return with a hinge at your hips to your hands on your blocks or onto the base of your chair. This is where we start to spend some quality time in this posture. I'd like you to locate your left big toe mound and press into that left big toe mound. Now, if your hands on your blocks, if you're on your fingertips and they get tired out, you can always make fists on your blocks too. Stay here if this feels like it's working as your pyramid for the moment, or back foot flat on its side. You try to keep the outer edge solid. It's going to make balance a little easier, but it's going to make finding that neutral rotation, or like the forwardness of your hips, a little bit trickier. So the flashlights facing forward will get a little bit more challenged with the back foot flat. We're trying not to let this become something where we're swinging our left hip out. And then we stay with this for a while. Lots going on. Alignment points and stretch. And then, of course, stretch of our attention. Last few moments exactly as we are. To exit, rebend your left knee and spin on your back toes. Step right foot hip distance from left, and then take your hands to your thighs and inhale, lengthen to your spine. Exhale, hinge at your hips. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, stand in your mountain, and this is where we just take a moment to digest. Long stays on both sides. And then inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, and we exhale, hands to thighs. Inhale, heart reaches, maybe hands to your chair or hands onto your blocks. This time when you step your left foot back, we will lower our back knee. This is where padding might be a very good idea. So you can bring that folded blanket or towel underneath your left knee. Think about the pyramid we just built and spent quite a bit of time in, and now we will do that on our knee. So straighten your right leg out, hinge at your hip. You can walk your blocks out or keep your hands on the base of your chair, but we're thinking like when we were upright, building our pyramid, and we found mountain pose in our upper body, we're translating that here. You're welcome to close your eyes. Just take note of the tendency for all of us to round in our spine, and let's not do that. Now begin to bend your right knee and stamp that right foot. Instead of going through our sun salutations upright, we'll stay low and just swoop. Right knee next to left. You may want to switch your padding out underneath that right knee. Step left foot forward and then straighten your left leg and curl your toes back. Let's remind ourselves that we don't want to get into a rounding situation. So we're hinging at our hip, curling those toes back, using our hands on our tall blocks or the seat of our chair. And then we have a little flashback to when we were upright and finding our mountain pose in our torso. And we let that find its way into this current shape. Then we let a hamstring stretch and length through our spine, and rich, deep breath become a meditation. And I'll be silent so you can dig in deep there. Last few moments here. Sometimes the stretch in our hamstring pales in comparison to the stretch of silence and stillness, right? Sometimes that's the more difficult stretch. I know, me too. And then bend your left knee and slide your left knee next to your right knee. Move your props off to the side. I'll also move my chair just because I want to make sure that you can see me. Sometimes when my head is towards my chair, I feel like it's a little tricky for us to see each other. And then lie down on your back. Once you're lying down on your back, hug your right knee into your chest. And I want us to nerd out on a couple of things, if you don't mind. So really feel your shoulder blades underneath you and against the ground. We've talked about standing in our mountain in these poses. Now we actually have something tactile to give us feedback about where our shoulder blades are at. Now hold the back of your right hamstring and start to work that right leg towards straight. It's our pyramid pose, but lying on our back. Take your right thumb into your right hip crease and draw your right hip as if it wants to go to your left heel. So just imagine that you get longer in the right side of your waist. Play with all those different things that I've asked you to find. So shoulder blades on the ground, long on the right side of your waist, flexing your left toes towards you, straightening your right leg. And then be willing to close your eyes and let this be an adventure. See what's loudest for you. Maybe your hamstring, maybe Finding shoulder blades on the ground is tricky because you're used to rounding. Keeping track of curling those left toes back towards you. There's lots to focus on. I'll be silent now for a few moments. Adventure away. Bend your right knee and place your right foot on the ground. Hug your left knee into your chest. And then start to slide your right leg straight onto the ground. Unless it feels better the other way, you can always keep your foot on the floor. But let's find shoulder blades on the ground. And then take the back of your left leg and start to straighten your left leg to the sky, and it doesn't have to get straight all the way. Before we linger in it for a while, take your left thumb into your left hip crease, draw that left hip crease down towards your right heel as if it's going to get there. It won't really, obviously. Curl your left toes, left toes towards you, but curl your right toes that are on the floor towards you as well. And now we take some quality time here where the stretch is kind of in our hamstrings. But like we said in our half split earlier, sometimes the biggest stretch of all is that stretch of silence and stillness and not getting distracted or fidgety. A full minute here. And now bend your left knee and place your left foot onto the ground, and then cross your right ankle on top of your left thigh. So it's a hip stretch here, a reclining pigeon. You can stay exactly as we are or thread the needle, which means you might reach around that same left hamstring that we were just holding on to, but obviously in a different situation now. You can also take your hands and interlace them around the front of your left shin. I'll be silent and we'll meditate in this new hip stretch meditation shape. You can close your eyes if that's uncomfortable. Maybe just have a soft gaze. Let your jaw relax. Your head feel heavy against the ground or even against a block that you've slid beneath your head if you'd like. In a kind of sneaky maneuver, we'll turn this into a supine twist, meaning a lying down twist. But I'd like you to get the block out from underneath your head if you've got it there for our twist. So cactus your arms out to the side and just slide your right knee over your left. Pick up your hips and scoot them to the right as your knees drop to the left. And pause here for a few moments. come through center. Uncross your knees and place your feet on the ground. Cross now left ankle on top of right thigh for our reclining pigeon. You don't have to thread the needle at all unless you want to reach through and hold the back of your right hamstring, or even interlace on the front of your right shin. And then we'll pause here. And then stamp your right foot onto the ground. This is the part where I'd like you to move the block for our twist. Left knee on top, cactus your arms, pick up your hips and shift them to the left, and then just let your knees drop over to the right. And then bring yourself to center. Place your feet as wide as your mat. And let your knees knock knee in on one another. Pick up your hips for a second, just an inch. Let everything get straightened out as you lower your hips to your mat. So after that twist, just getting settled into the center. You can take your Shavasana final meditation like this if you'd like. Or extend one leg and then the other and let your feet flop open. You might like to cover yourself with something. Cover or close your eyes. And then fall into the floor and let everything that we've done rest and digest. You're welcome to stay here in your final Shavasana meditation as long as you'd like. If you're ready to return, do it gradually. Wiggle your fingers and toes. Maybe take a stretch of your arms and legs away from each other. Gather up your knees into your chest. Roll gently to either side. And come up to any kind of seat that feels comfortable to you. Place your palms up or down in your lap. Let the stillness and this stretch, kind of your hamstrings, but especially that stretch of stillness and not as much distraction, come with you off your mat and into your life. I'm Andrea. Thank you so much for practicing with me.